Hello, everybody. We're back for another weekly webinar. Our Mingle Mastermind team is back here to talk about all kinds of issues that we're facing in the business world and in the fashion industry with the coronavirus situation. And this week we have Jordana, who's the co-founder of FASHINNOVATION. Hi, Jordana. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, we're really looking forward to talking to you about the future of fashion and social impact post-COVID. I know that social impact is something that's extremely near and dear to your heart. Yes. You're someone who has always put all of your efforts into pushing sustainable fashion forward in the industry and also engaging the industry on how we can use technology.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, those three, you said it perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get on to introducing the rest of our team. So Beth, I'll let you take it from here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending. I'm Beth Smith. I'm the co-founder of Fashion Mingle. Thank you for joining. And Jordana, very excited to speak with you today. And for everyone on this webinar, please feel free to leave a comment or just say hi and let us know where you're from. And a little bit about your business. We love to learn about our attendees. And let's get started now, introducing the panelists. First up, we have Dale from True Model Management. Dale, how's it going this week?
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Noelle, as Beth said, from True Model Management. And I'm in New York. Everything's going well, having a productive week. We're managing models throughout the world now for virtual fittings and at-home shoots, in-home shoots. There's a lot of changes going on of how people are working together at some photo studios around the country. They're putting up glass dividers so stylists can look. Models have to come with their own hair and makeup ready. Everyone has to sign waivers. Lots of changes, but we're being positive and moving forward. So we're looking forward to a better future.
That's great. That's great that you can adapt so quickly and still get it done. Okay, next we have Lori. Lori from the Riviere agency. Hi, Lori.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori. I'm back in New York after a couple of months outside of the city, and I'm excited. I'm super, super excited to be here today and talk about the next global chats that Jordana is putting together. I've gotten a little sneak preview, and I'm super pumped.
Yep. Sounds great. Okay, now we have Kat from Schuller Enterprises. What's going on this week?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I know. We're getting into the new normal groove, and now we're going to open up again. Now we switched and pivoted. Now we're opening up again. But yeah, I'm working with the UN on their Friends of World Oceans Day, so that's going very, very well. And I'm very super pumped to listen about FASHINNOVATION and because now that I'm doing this event virtually with everyone, it's such another layer that we have to get through. And I'm trying to stay positive because I have people from all different walks of life in different places I could never have flown in from. And that's a good part of the virtual world that we're in now. But it's just turning into be a really exciting experience. And I'm learning a lot about, possibly using this as another aspect to a live show. So that's kind of what I'm really excited to talk to you about, because I have High Tech Moda, and we're going to be doing something with National Geographic in the fall. So I'm looking to see how we can pivot that. So it's very exciting. I'm super excited to hear what you have to say.
That's great. That's good stuff, Kat. And finally, we have Shirin. Hi, Shirin.
Hi. I'm
Shirin.
here. Yeah. First of all, thank you, Jordana. I'm so excited to have you here today. And we look forward to hearing all of the things that you have to say about how the fashion industry is moving along and changing in some ways for the good, hopefully. I am a business branding lawyer, and I help the fashion industry create a solid foundation for the successful growth and expansion of their businesses. I'm happy to say that, you know, a lot of my businesses have gotten the necessary funding and the lights are starting to go back on, and we are starting to move forward and starting to, you know, create those projects and those businesses that they've been working on. So great things are coming. I'm very hopeful and love to hear what you have to say as well.
Awesome.
That's great.
Okay. Well, I am excited to hear, Jordana, about how you, let's first go back to what you've been doing the last couple of New York Fashion Weeks and the transition in April. So we first connected a couple of years ago. I think we met at Tex World. You were putting on the summits during New York Fashion Week, and those were really well received and well attended. Tell us about how you got started with Fashionnovation and what inspired you to start it.
So I come from a background, 17 years. I was doing marketing in-house for a lot of fashion brands like Nina Ricci, Porsche Design, Lanvin, etc. And I always was the person to try to find some type of philanthropic cause that we could link to the brands, because I feel that social impact is super important, I think. And so with that, you know, that was 17 years of my career. And I met my husband 5 years ago, who has always been in entrepreneurship and helping companies with go-to-market strategies to internationalize and, you know, investing and technology. So that was always his world. And so when we met, and I had the philanthropy as well as fashion background, and he had the entrepreneurship background, and he comes from Brazil, and he only moved here about 3.5 years ago. And so moving here, he wanted to put together an event where he would bring in CEOs and founders of companies to speak of their day one stories. But he realized when coming to the US that everything here is a lot more segmented and it has to be a little more niche, because otherwise you don't really have a place in the market. And so he came to me and said, would it make sense if I brought in the entrepreneurship angle to the fashion industry and philanthropy and mix it all up and do something in combination? And so when he asked me that question, it was about 2.5 years ago, which seems like 10 years ago because of everything, but it really sounded good to me. And so with that, we just literally, it was July of 2018 when we had this conversation, and we said, you know what, let's do it. Put the first event together for September 2018. So we had 2 months to just with this idea in our head of what it would be like. And we started Fashion Innovation, boom, okay, name, let's go. And we started just cold emailing all of these leaders, CEOs and founders in the tech space, in the fashion space, telling them of this concept of bringing everything together into one umbrella and what their thoughts were. And within 2 months, we had our first event with 40 speakers, which ranged from directors of NASA, founder of Shopify, founders of brands like Universal Standard, Ministry of Supply, the United Nations, even brought in the Arab Fashion Council director from Saudi Arabia. It was just incredible, this diversity that we were able to bring. And we saw just through proof of concept of that one event, how really mixing people up and bringing people from diverse regions as well as backgrounds is how real collaboration is formed, and how people really have these organic new relationships that can come of it as well. And so with that, we just kept going. And the last 2.5 years, we had 4 summits, over 200 speakers, which again kept that diverse range and just kept getting bigger and bigger. The community was really getting built up. And January of this year, we got approached by the United Nations Office for Partnerships because they wanted to partner with us with a conscious fashion campaign. And things were really, you know, and everything was very organic, never any paid advertising. It was just people really loving the mission. We sloganed Fashionnovation under the umbrella of Fashion is to Love. And this was even pre-COVID, because philanthropy-wise, and I really just love, love, and love people is just who I am. I said, you know, the fashion industry is the biggest platform in the world, and it has so much potential to really impact the world to be a better place if done properly. And so with that, as soon as COVID hit, it was obviously a very big uh-oh moment for us, because live events, what are you going to do? And a few days into it, I said, okay, we can't just sit still. We're not going to profit monetarily. We're not going to, you know, have our business is not going to grow in that way. But because we really believe in the fashion is to love, and love is something that's needed more than ever right now, this is the time for us to really embrace our community and make our community even bigger by bringing the world together. And so we literally pivoted everything, our entire business model, and we did the first full-on 2-day summit online internationally with over 90 speakers, and we got from the likes of Diane von Furstenberg, Kenneth Cole, Mara Hoffman, Nadia Swarovski, Susan Rockefeller. It was incredible. And in the 2 days, we had over 120 countries present, over 1 million impressions, and over 100,000 viewers. So we were really blown away at what happened. We never expected that type of turnout in it was 3.5 weeks that we put the whole thing together. And so yeah, so here we are today. So that's kind of been the journey thus far.
Well, that's amazing. And I'm just like, so number one, I'm gonna like hats off to you for picking the perfect husband. That's incredible.
It's okay, just kidding.
That's like no, that's a pretty good deal. He came up with a great idea that you absolutely love, and you guys are working together on it, and you're still married. That's incredible. So, but I do love how what you're doing is you really are you had this idea, and it's this big seminar series, but you actually are turning this into a real business. So I know that's got to be a very challenging part of it, because you're putting in a ton of your time, and so you have to actually make a living also. So tell us a little bit about how you see, social impact is an important part of the fashion industry. It's an important part of our world. You can actually, make a business that, uses social impact. And that's what people seem to really be gravitating toward nowadays. They want to work with businesses that have a social impact theme. So tell us a little bit about what you see, how you're seeing Fashion-Novation in the future. We've got a little bit of a bump right now, but how do you see this growing as a business model?
So funny enough, there's a few things, but this morning, actually serendipitous for me, because I feel like I believe everything happens for a reason. I had a call with Mr. Schuller, who's the founder of Jaipur Rugs and the Jaipur Foundation in India. And he said some things to me that I'll never forget, just in 30 minutes of conversation. And he's very big into social entrepreneurship. And for a while, I've been wrecking my brain, because money is something that has never driven me. I needed to live, but I really couldn't care less. I've never said I want to become a millionaire. I want to be this huge entrepreneur. It's never been my dream. My dream is really to create impact in the world. And speaking with him and his story, he's, his business now, it's a multi-million-dollar business, but it's social entrepreneurship. And one thing that he said to me is, now everybody's trying to figure out, what are we going to do to be successful? What can we do with our business? And he said one thing to me that I want to share with you guys, because it really touched me. He said, right, you have 3 things. You have your head, your heart, and what was it? It was your head, your heart, and your hands. He said, so right now is the time to shut off your head, take out your heart, and put it in your hand. And he said, and by doing that, you will have all the success in the world. And that really spoke to me, because I feel that when you do something with a mission behind what you're doing, which is taking your heart, and you put it in your hands, which is where the action happens, and you're doing it for a reason that you truly believe in, it's going to relate to others, and others are going to want to be a part of what you're doing. So with that being, like, I really, it gives me chills, like, when I keep thinking of what he said, because it really touched me that much. And it really is true, because with Fashion-Novation, when we were doing the live events, sponsorships, which is like any other event company, it was a business model. But now I feel that collaboration is the key word in the fashion industry more so than ever now. And it's something I've always believed in, and I'm excited about this because I think that now is the time where we can create business models within Fashionnovation where we can bring brands together, maybe even the artisanal range of brands, maybe from different parts of the world, that can all create something in togetherness under maybe an institution. And I'm thinking out loud right now, but that's like, you know, one of the things that I think those types of brands and companies are going to go very far right now, especially with everything going on. I also think that, you know, knowledge, obviously, you know, we do these events and now we have people from all over the world that are emailing us, asking us questions about topics that maybe we're not experts in, but our speakers are. And so, and I'm not speaking of like, you know, the masterclass thing, because it's a lot of people are doing those type of things, but maybe finding a new way to do it. I think it's all about now like innovating, like how can we use the assets that we have, which to me is really our community and us really wanting to give back and bring people together to, you know, give back with us, and how can we do it differently? So that's kind of where our mindset is right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I know that having a positive mindset is a really important thing to you, and it's something that you're practicing in your daily life as we're all struggling with the confines of quarantine life. So how, like, give us some tips on how you're practicing a positive mindset so that you can keep moving your business forward, you can keep coming up with new and creative ideas.
So another thing that was said by Kenneth Cole at the last event that I keep thinking about is, you said, you know, they said, what about this change? What's the next normal, the new normal? He said, there's no new normal, there's no next normal. He said, the fashion industry is always changing, even pre-pandemic. Every few months, there's something different. There's something that comes to play that no one expects. It's always innovating itself. So when he said that, I just took that as, you know what, this is just another one of those changes. I'm not thinking of it as a pandemic or as this thing. Obviously, I'm not blind or deaf to it, but at the same time, I'm not allowing that to shape my decisions and what I'm doing. I'm just kind of using this time to say, be as innovative as I can, give back as much as I can, and bring people together as much as I can. And then everything else will so having that mindset and thinking back to what he said over and over in my head is allowing me to move forward. Because I think that if we sit back, you know, if we sit and just look at this as, oh my gosh, everything is over, the world's going to end, there's no more fashion, then you're like, okay, why am I going to, you know, there's no, so I think you just have to, it's all perception, right? And I think that's with everything in life. It's, you know, how you perceive the world, how you perceive yourself. And as long as you keep trying to like readapt the way that you perceive things, I think that you can have that hope, and with hope you can go far. So that's kind of what I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, that's so true what Kenneth Cole said. It's part of the DNA of people in the fashion industry to constantly be changing and improving. I mean, with your background in PR, you've worked for some major brands. You've had such a long career in PR that I know growing a business, you've got kind of the inside track of how to do it because you've been with so many of these brands, I'm sure, as they come up, and you learned a lot that way. Can you give us some examples of how throughout your career, how you saw some of your, the brands that you've worked with, how they've used their passion to drive their success?
Yeah, so let me go back, think. There's so many different people that do things differently, but I'm thinking, you know, you look at someone, I'm going to go startup to big. So startup brand, you have a brand in Brazil that I've just been in touch with recently, and I've seen her success throughout. It's called Nana Kai, and it's a brand that she employs. So she's always wanted to give back to women particularly because she, you know, raised her sons on her own and everything. So she took everything that she kind of passed through in life to want to give back. So cute, by the way. And so she started this company, and she employs women in the favelas in Brazil, and she teaches them how to become artisans. And then she, you know, she's able to create all these new jobs. And it was really through the passion of her just wanting to empower women. You know, originally it had nothing to do with fashion or creating bags, which was what they do, but it's just the empowering woman aspect of it. So taking that and making it into a business, I think is super commendable. But then you also have companies like Bombas, right? The socks that give back to homelessness in such a huge way. And I think, you know, using something again that a lot of people are going to wear, such as socks, to give back to a cause that's so massive, but then having that massive like group of people looking at that cause because of something that they're going to have to buy to wear, it's all about how you use what you're doing for profitability to give back a voice to whatever it is that you're passionate about. And that goes back to being able to be profitable and give back at the same time. So I would say that those are the two kind of things that I look at. But there's so many brands that are doing incredible things. So it's hard to think of just one.
Right, absolutely. Well, and I think what what those companies are also doing, I know that SDG goals are important to you, and sustainable, being helping brands become more sustainable is really important to you. What kind of guidance can you give brands who are wanting to introduce sustainability into their model?
The best thing I can say is it's incremental changes. Like, don't try to all of a sudden be like, I'm just going to throw out a name of a brand that everybody's talking about, bad and good, but H&M. Like, they were making incremental changes. They said, I forgot what the year was, so I don't want to say it wrong, but it was in a few years they were going to be able to say that they were, sustainable, fully sustainable, whatever. And a lot of people were giving them, bad reviews about that, and just like people were speaking badly of them. And I thought that was wrong, because I think if a company that big is willing to start going that direction, every single step should be applauded. It's not an easy thing at all, almost impossible to turn a big company like that overnight into fully sustainable. And I also think there's different aspects of sustainability. So you can't just look at sustainability as like, everything being sustainable, but look at like Diane von Furstenberg. She's sustainable not because her fabrics are sustainable, but because when you buy one of her dresses, normally you'll keep it for like 30, 40 years because it's a timeless piece. So I really believe that sustainability has to start being applauded by incremental changes. I think companies that want to go that route have to look at every facet of sustainability and see what fits best for their business model, because not every business model is going to succeed being fully sustainable in every way, because sometimes it just won't work throughout the supply chain of the process that they're using. So I just think people have to start, looking at what is sustainable to them and how can they best adapt it. And again, applaud every single step that's taken and not look down because it's not fully there yet.
I really like you saying that, because I kind of felt that way too when H&M was getting beat up upon, and charges. You hear constantly, oh, they're greenwashing, different brands, and the supply chain is so complicated that there's no easy answer to the problem that fashion is causing. I was just this morning editing an article from one of our designers, Runa Ray, Runa. She wrote an article about the SDG goals, and I love how there's 17 different goals, so you can make an impact in so many different areas. Just like pick which one fits your business model and just move forward with changes.
Yes, exactly. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I want to get our mastermind members in, and everybody comes from, the cool thing about our mastermind group is everybody comes from a different part of the industry. So it's always interesting to hear their questions. I want to start off with Lori, because I know she's super excited to talk with you about your business model, and I think that she's participated in some of your in one coming up. I don't know. You guys take it away, Lori.
Yeah, she's been a huge, like, a positive influence and such a supporter. And I really thank you so much for that. And by the way, how cute.
Yes, we have a special guest. Lori, would you like to introduce your guest?
A future, a future power woman in the industry, hopefully.
Oh, she loved that you said that. I saw that big grin.
Yeah, she has her only shirt with writing on it says "Girl Power." Yeah, I mean, I think so the way that we're connected is, I manage partnerships and events for Fashion Week Online, and Jordana reached out to have Fashion Week Online, maybe write something about it. And I was like, of course. And I'm just so excited about what they've done and what they're going to be doing for the next digital event. I do think that it's just so powerful to try and find like small ways that you can sort of lift yourself up or lift other people up. And on a day when you're feeling blue, when you just connect with people, even if it is digitally over Zoom or on YouTube or whatever, it makes such a difference. So, Jordana, could you tell us a little bit about like the process that you went through going from having a live event to figuring out how you were going to digitalize it and keep like an aspect of like that human connection? Like, what is it that you do to try and infuse that into what you do? Because I think it comes through.
Totally. Thank you so much, first off. But no, so it goes back, and I feel like I always sound as like a very cheesy, like, but it's really who I am. But I really like, whether it's the speaker or people that are RSVPing to attend to the event, or even people that just like, it doesn't matter who it is. If they want to have a call with me, or like if they just want to like talk via email, I'm always the one responding to everybody. So literally, like, I think that really keeps the engagement level, because they're like, okay, like, she's not just saying, here's a team, like, it's just always me. And so, like, even if that means I'm working 24 hours around the clock, I enjoy it, but it also allows that person to feel like they're part of the community. So I think that that's number one, as far as keeping people interested in coming back and engaging and becoming a part of it and all of that. And then I think the second thing is, the Q&A thing is super important for us at the end with the audience, because you want them to be part of the conversation, because they're just as important. But also throwing in different aspects of entertainment. So like the last one, we had Jason Naylor. He went out to a mural in Brooklyn and he painted the entire mural. And then at the end of the summit, he showcased what he was painting throughout the 2 days. And it was a beautiful picture of the word hope. And everybody felt like they were a part of that. And it was something that wasn't just them being talked to all day, but something for them to look forward to. That wasn't just knowledge and something to put a smile on their face. So with that being said, like the next one, this is the first time I'm announcing it publicly, but we're going to have a 3D fashion show at this June one coming up now. So we're going to do a full-on 3D show. So we're always trying to implement like entertainment, things that are new, things that people can be excited about and see something different, but also engage, and always making sure that I know every single person who's either an audience member, whoever it might be. Like, I want to get to know everybody. So that's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
How did you come up with, like, how do you find do the ideas just come to you, like for the mural and the 3D fashion show, or are you getting sort of connecting with people and it's through the connections that some of these ideas are happening?
Well, the mural, I got really fortunate to get to know Jason Naylor for the last 2 years. And then he actually, my book coming out this summer, which is another topic, but he did the cover of the book for me. So we became really good friends. And I just love that all of his artwork has so much to do with love and empathy and hope. And that's all that I'm about. So that was just something that was second nature to think of. The 3D show coming up, everybody's talking about what the next normal is, and a lot of people are like, our runway show is going to be 3D. So because I've gotten asked that question a lot, I was like, let me find a company that does that, because it would be kind of cool to show people what it would be like. And so that was kind of more through, just hearing what people are talking about and saying, can I be that person to showcase it? So yeah.
I love that. So Dale, who's with True Model Management, she's got a question for you.
Hi, Jordana.
Hi, Dale.
I was going to ask you about the fashion and technology. So you answered that, and I'm very excited to hear about the 3D show, and I can't wait to see and participate in it. I want to know, will you need to wear like 3D, you know, like Oculus or any type of equipment, or is it 3D on the computer screen, kind of like watching a video? Like, what should we be
Exactly.
excited
So
of?
it literally, yeah. So I did a demo with the team that's putting it together. It literally blew my head off, and I'm really excited to have you guys see it because it looks like you're really sitting at a runway show. So you won't need anything. It's going to be like you're watching a video of a runway show, but everything is augmented reality, avatars, but everything looks real. Like, it's incredible. And what we're going to do, because collaboration is the key word, we're choosing, actually, there's going to be 12 looks. So we're going to get 12 brands from around the world, and each brand is going to send in one look. So it's going to be a collaborative runway show. And one thing for you, Dale, actually, which is interesting. So this team that's putting it together, they were talking about how this is going to give models an opportunity to make money during this time, because what they can do is they can actually take a model's face and body measurements, and the model walking down the runway will look identical to the real model, so that they can get licensing rights and they can get paid that way. So I thought that was super interesting.
That is amazing. Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
Very
Great.
cool.
I'd love to discuss that further with you, because
yeah.
talk to all the lawyers on the panel too about how they protect the licenses.
Let's go over to Shirin. She has a question, but I think you would like to chime in on the licensing part of the discussion.
Hi. Yeah, so the first question I had for you, Jordana, is with respect to the social movement that you're creating with your business, and what you're basically, putting together, what, a for-profit business and a social awareness that goes with it, which essentially is what a benefit corporation or B corporation is. I was wondering, have you guys actually looked into that for your business? And are you talking to other, businesses that are coming to these, to your events about the benefits of, the benefit corporation, and how that, you can actually, make profits and do good at the same time?
So full transparency, business wise, I need a lot of help, especially with that stuff. And like, I'm very creative, and I'm very much the person like bringing people together and just coming up with ideas and doing them. But when it comes, we're incorporated right now, we're in Inc. But with that being said, super interested to get your knowledge in that and get a call with you going after that, because this is something that me and my husband, we know fully well, because as we're growing, we're like, okay, this is actually working. We're really growing, but we are both creative, like left-minded individuals. So when it comes to like the business angle of it, because we're also growing so fast now as far as just like possibilities, we really do need to look into that more. So I can't even, I'm not knowledgeable on that at all, but it's something that I really do need to get knowledgeable very quickly on. So I would love to set up a call with you. So that's the full transparent.
Shirin, could you actually explain to the audience, like give us some examples of what kind of businesses in the fashion industry would be appropriate for a B Corp?
So, I mean, essentially any business, as Jordana mentioned. So if you're holding businesses and you're doing these collaborations of, you've got a brand and they're working with, like the Bomb Bus is a perfect example of that. It's creating a social cause. And so it obviously is a for-profit business. It sells its goods, it makes its money, but at the same time, there's a, philanthropic portion of it. One sock goes to helping those that don't have any. And there's also the social movement and awareness of it, the sustainability aspect of it. So really any of these businesses, any fashion brand that is able to collaborate and do, you know, look outside of just the profit numbers and actually make a social impact, whether it's through sustainability, whether it's through supporting various causes, social causes, philanthropic causes, any of those things. And rather than having a nonprofit organization arm, which used to be the, you know, the typical way of how businesses would have to, you know, express their social interests or philanthropic interests, now they can combine that with their business. And really now more than ever, I mean, the B Corporation is not a new thing. It's been happening over the past decade, but obviously now with what's been going on, we're seeing that those that are thriving currently are respecting what's been happening in our, you know, in our environment, in our, you know, in our economy, and are finding ways of helping businesses. So a benefit corporation is those that are respectful to three prongs: your employees, your customers, and your investors, right? Those who are going to invest in your company. And if you're able to, you know, make any of those, any changes, any positive social changes in those areas, then there's great benefits of registering as a benefit corporation, and being part of this community. And through the community, there's actually support. There's investors that are looking to just invest in companies like that. So this is a great way of fashion brands to not only, you know, go with their passion as you have, Jordana, but actually get support, financial support, to help them get through, you know, some of these tougher times, like what's going on right now. So yeah, it's open to anyone.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that information. I'm sure a lot of other people are thankful for it as well right now watching this, but thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's circle back a second, because I'd like to hear Dale's question about, I'd like to discuss more about the licensing that Jordana was talking about with the models, and get Shirin's input on that. Dale, do you have a specific question you'd like to ask about that?
Well, I've been in this space for quite some time now. We have body scanning machines for 3D avatars of models, and it's always depending on the software, the platforms that the clients who want to use the avatars, the way that it's protected, and how it's transferred and used within programs. And as far as the laws are kind of gray about who owns what part of the IP, and it seems like things are not solidified to totally protect the person who gives up their rights. And many have done it, and, you know, it can be profitable, but there's always that risk that, you know, it can be copied and used improperly. So I was just curious how they solved it to in the platforms that they use.
Yeah, do you know, Jordana, how anything more about the licensing plan?
So I don't. For this next show that we're doing in June, we're just using like faceless avatars because it's too much to go into in 3 weeks leading up to the event. But I know that the company, they were based in Singapore. They just got backed by the Prada Group. I know that they won awards by like Inc. magazine and South by Southwest. I know they're in a very short time. It's a husband and wife team too, and they're just incredible and very sweet. But I don't know the answer to that at the moment.
Shirin, do you see, for models that might be interested in participating in a program, what do you think they should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an ever evolving area of law, which, you know, as all new areas of law this is new technology. So in the past, currently, the law with respect to use of name or likeness, which is what this is really about, in terms of the avatar using their face, body, or any recognizable feature of a model. Of course, the model, you know, that is theirs. You know, you have the personal right to your own use of name or likeness. So when you are giving it out to someone else, or if someone else is using that, then obviously you have a right to license it out and limit that use of your particular feature in this case. But when the problem is starting to happen is you're taking one person's eye with another person's lip, and then it's not recognizable as that particular model, but rather it's a, you know, it's a collection of different particular features, that is not readily identifiable as a particular model, then you have less, you know, less power to say that that is use of my particular, it's a lot harder to sort of you know, concretely decide that that is your eye, or, you know, especially if that person denies it. So the issue is starting to happen is, you know, if they're just using particular parts and it's not recognizable as you per se, does that do you have a right to that? You know, do you, you know, would you have to pay a licensing fee to use that person's eye, for instance? And that area is not clearly defined right now. So anyone that is doing that is basically treading on, you know, thin water at this point, because it's open to interpretation. Because we don't know who owns that. If it's recognizable, obviously, it's a lot easier for those, you know, I recently wrote an article about Selena Gomez, who had her whole entire, you know, picture taken and created into an avatar for a video game. Obviously, it was recognizable as Selena Gomez. It was her entire body, and she did not authorize the use of her likeness in the video game. So obviously, she sued for that unauthorized use. So that's a clear-cut example of, you know, using someone else's name or likeness without their authority. But if they had just used Selena Gomez's lips, for instance, obviously, I don't know if, one, she would recognize that as being her lips in order to say, hey, I didn't give you authority to use my lips. But two, I mean, can they really limit that to particular body parts? I mean, maybe in the case of, say, Kim Kardashian, you know, she has a very recognizable back end, right? So if someone were to use that, I think that maybe, you know, she would probably have more power to sort of identify herself and say that, you know, that's obviously my body part. But it's very gray, and you know, it's still to be said, you know, obviously you have a right to your use of your own name and likeness, but to the extent that someone uses a particular part that's unidentifiable, it's still a gray area of law.
Yeah, and Dale, you've got a follow-up?
I just want to say Shirin is right on target with exactly what we're experiencing, and more clients than not want to morph 2 or 10 models together because they want one person's arm, one's chest, one's hair, one eye, and then they're like, that's not the model anymore. Or even if they claim they want to own it because they took it and they're going to manipulate it anyway. They don't want it exactly the way the model is. They want to do something to perfect it or change it. And at what point is it not really them? For us, it's like any base that it starts with. If it starts with that model, it's still them and any replica of it. But we find difficulty in the tracking and really finding out, you know, you can do it on the blockchain, transferring it's okay, and or having it only allowed in one system we find is okay. But if they buy a file, it's like having it used in many different places. But this might be a topic that's pretty niche for another conversation, but if you want to pick on that.
I do think, though, that this is really important part of like how we're going to move, you know, in the fashion industry post-COVID. You know, all of these kind of nuts and bolts issues are going to have to be addressed. Jordana, now, so you guys have this event coming up. Do you have a date for it yet?
Yeah, so it's going to be June 5th and June 8th because June 5th is World Environment Day and June 8th is World Oceans Day. And because we're partnered again with the UN, and we also have Oceana on board as a partner for the oceans. And so it's going to be a really nice mix of artisanal brands for the environment, but also bringing in surfers and personas and swimsuit brands that are being sustainable, and really mixing it up with the 2 days. And it's also a Friday and a Monday, so that it cuts with a weekend for people to digest rather than 2 days back to back.
Okay. And what's the name of this 3D fashion show company that you're working with?
Big Thanks. So it's BIGTHINX. We just officially partnered with them late last night. It's official.
So that, and everybody's going to be able to attend. They just need to go to the FASHINNOVATION website,
And register.
Sign up, you register at the website, and then you get information about how attending the
It's
the
free
virtual
for
class.
everybody. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, it's going to be real. I mean, you're probably kind of the leader. I know there's a lot of people thinking about the virtual fashion show and planning stuff for New York Fashion Week in September. So you're jumping the gun on everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's, who said, so we have a keynote speaker. His name is Larry Golko. He's a professor at Harvard, and he does roundtables with CEOs and founders. He's really, really genius. And I had a quick call with him. And this is another thing I'm really grateful about. I get so many nuggets of wisdom from every single speaker because I get on a call with them. Even if it's a 15-minute call, they say certain things that really stick with me.
Yeah.
But one thing that he did say is he said, right now, try not to focus so much on being the best. Focus more on being the first or the only. He's like, because by doing that, everybody now is looking for what's gonna happen. What are people gonna start doing? And so when he said that, I was like, how can I do that? So then when
really good advice. I mean,
yeah,
because since you're trying to turn this into like a real business, at some point you might want investors and leading in the technology to address the current issues that are facing the world, I think is really going to be fantastic for you.
Thank you. We hope so.
Yeah, let's bring Kat in because Kat's working on World Ocean Days too. And Kat's
I had a quick question about the programming to go back to how you set it up logistically. We're kind of dealing with the Q&A and the security issue. So I just kind of wanted to address that because we were in a Zoom meeting the other day and it got Zoom bombed. And so I just wondered if you had any insight about that because this is a whole Wild West kind of thing. So
yes. So actually,
insight.
yeah. So our tech team, they just formed actually a package for events. They know I would be happy to connect you. His name is Eduardo. He really is incredible. And he has a lot of events right now that are reaching out to him to do the back end technology, exactly what he did for us. And I know for a fact that security and all of that, he's like really, he's amazing.
Especially with the UN.
Oh no, 100%. And because we have a lot of the UN officials speaking at our event, they always ask that question. And I know that when they speak with Eduardo, they come back like, sigh of relief. So I know he's really, really great at what he's doing with that. Of course, I'd be happy to connect you.
Very cool. Okay, so we've only got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to bring Beth back on, and because she's got some questions from the attendees.
Right.
Yeah. Hi. Okay, we have a question from Rahila. Hi, Rahila. She wants to know, does FASHINNOVATION have any programs directed to new or emerging brands, such as mentorship programs or events?
So funny enough, the mentorship thing is something we are going to start doing in our business model. So my husband actually comes from a company called Endeavor. If you guys are not familiar, Endeavor is the largest not-for-profit internationally that helps scale up and startup companies grow through mentorship programs. But they do it on a scale more of companies with tech. So we really want to implement that business model in the fashion industry. So with that being said, a lot of our speakers, we're not doing it officially yet, but a lot of our really big speakers are really open to us connecting them with startups and scale ups that have questions or want a mentor, to help them kind of evolve. So with that being said, please reach out to me and tell me what you're doing, the types of person you want to be connected with, and it'll be my pleasure to do so.
Great.
Yeah, of course.
I think Jordana might have answered, or you asked about the 3D company, and let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, you covered them all at this point.
Oh, I do see one from Marcus. And this is a interesting question about print on demand. He says he designs his sneakers and dresses and using a print on demand store. How do you, because he can't make his, it's a big investment to make his own. How do you feel about the print on demand processes as part of a sustainable model for a fashion brand?
so funny how things happen. I really feel like everything is timely. So I had a call yesterday with the team at Suspicious Antwerp. Suspicious Antwerp, I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it before. It's a group, it's two guys in college making t-shirts, was going really well, graduated college and said, let's make pre-order sweatshirts and t-shirts. Very basic stuff, pretty nice, but like very simple. And what they're doing is their whole, from when they started the business 3 years ago to today, they use two things. One, influencer marketing, and two, everything you do is pre-order, even pre-COVID. So you order something and then you have to wait 2 weeks for it to be made and get shipped to you. And they are growing so fast and they're becoming so profitable, and they don't have any dead stock. There's no, I mean, I think the whole thing of like when someone orders, you make it is genius from a sustainability standpoint, because you have no waste and you're just shipping what people are ordering. So you don't have anything laying around that you're not going to possibly use. And I think it's a great way to really like grow a business. And just hearing these guys' stories yesterday really blew me away. Look them up. Suspicious Antwerp, ANTWERP. Really incredible story behind what they're doing, and they're growing very fast.
That's cool. Well, we're almost finished with our hour here, so I just want to go over what you're thinking the future is going to hold for the fashion industry. Social impact was, it seemed like to me, like after the 2008 financial crisis, that really reset a lot in the fashion industry. There was a lot more focus on, not consuming or over consuming, not buying from fast fashion as much. And so we were really, social impact really became part of the DNA of many brands. There's a lot of concern right now that because we're in this crisis mode, that sustainability is going to get pushed to the back burner because it's all about making, money so that your business can survive. Can you give us, with talking with all the people that you're talking with all over the world all the time in the fashion industry, can you give us a sense of where people are right now, mentally thinking about sustainability in their brand, and how you think we're going to be able to keep on that path during this COVID crisis, but also afterwards?
So I'm like the opposite. So people might agree or not agree, but I think the opposite based on what I'm seeing. I think that sustainability for the first time is really being looked at by people maybe that before didn't even understand what it really meant. I think we've never been in a situation where the entire world, literally somebody took all of us by our feet and like shook us like this and just threw us in the dark, and like there you go. So like with all of that being said, I feel like it's the first time that people are really having an awakening to what's going on in the environment, in the world, and how we've been treating the earth and the environment. And a lot of this that's happening, I really do believe it's kind of the world kind of screaming at us like, okay, you guys were not taking care of us before, and now look at what happened. So with all of that being said, this is my belief. I truly believe that sustainability is going to take a front seat. And I think the only reason sustainability and sustainable products are more expensive, it's a whole thing of supply and demand. I think now that the consumer is being more aware and more knowledgeable on what sustainability really means and how important it really is, I think that they're going to start buying more of it, and they're going to start buying less. So less is more. And with that, I think the demand is going to go up, and so the price is going to go down. So that eventually sustainable brands are going to be the same price point as a regular brand that is not sustainable. It makes a lot more sense. Consumers are being more educated, and this is where I really believe that it's going to go, and I hope, of course, that it's going to go. And with all of that being said, I also think, and it's something that I spoke to someone about recently at Vera Wang, but I'm such a believer that the one small change that can be done now with every brand, sustainable or not sustainable, runway shows. I think we should always have them. I think it's such a beautiful thing in the fashion history. It should never go away. But I think how easy would it be for every single brand, even if you're not a sustainable brand, just the collection that you make for the runway, make that one collection sustainable, those samples sustainable. That's it. Then you can repurpose them and they don't become waste. And it's such an easy thing. And even when I spoke to people at Vera Wang and people at other brands that I've been speaking to about this idea, they're like, yeah, that really wouldn't be hard to do actually, now that I think about it, because it's just that one collection. So little things like that, I think if it starts to kind of become like little things that you ping at people, I don't know. I'm a big believer that sustainability can really go a long way after this. So, but again, my optimistic point of view.
Do you have any, for designers that are wanting to use sustainable supply chains, do you have any recommendations on like where they could go to learn more about that?
So there is actually Good Ops. So goodops.ops.com. They do incredible work. They actually started, so sorry about that. They started a sourcing actually platform recently where they only focus on outsourcing sustainable textiles from all over the world. So you could do everything online. I think they do really great work with explaining how that works and everything as well. And then there's a lot, I think, honestly, if you just, now especially, I think if you were to Google that even, I think there's so many companies, there's so many manufacturing companies that have pivoted towards that angle as well. A lot of like made in America manufacturing companies like On Point Manufacturing, that they even have a thing where you can literally order 3 pieces and they'll make it for you. There's not like a certain number that you have to order from them. There is Indie Source in California. They do incredible work. There is even Supply Compass, more of like, you know, just supply chain A to Z on a platform. They do really great work. I mean, I think there's so many of them. And that's what, you just gave me another idea. I should put together kind of like a database of companies that we look up to for different reasons, so people can look those up when they're looking for that. Thank you for that.
No, that would be really helpful. Yeah, on the Fashion Mingle platform, we have a production category, and a lot of the companies that offer production are in sustainability. But we also have a sustainability category that you can go and just find resources.
That's amazing.
For people that have that as part of their business model. Well, so let's wrap up, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can actually, I know that some people are going to want to reach out to Jordana. So you can actually send her a message over the Fashion Mingle chat system if you just log in. And also you can connect with her on Instagram and LinkedIn. Please go to fashionmingle.com/mastermind and you'll get all of Jordana's contact information.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. I really, like, all of you ladies are incredible, and the work that you do at Fashion Mingle is really, really great. And I love how you bring people together. And I remember meeting you at that Tex World event and just learning about what you're doing. And I was like, so genius. And yeah, you just do great work, and all of you guys in your own categories. And yeah, I can go one by one, but I know, like, I just thank you all really for everything.
Jordana.
You're always an inspiration, Jordana, and it's so wonderful to talk with you today. And we're so excited for your event on June 5th and June 8th.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so don't forget to go to Fashion Innovation to register for that event, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next Friday.